Hello and welcome to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
And you're a nicely dressed Ian today. What's the occasion, man?
I don't know. It's just a shirt I throw on, really.
Yeah.
Just nicely. It's just a polo type
I know.
shirt.
It's like whenever we record the show and put a video up, it's normally just like a t-shirt. But
yeah,
I'm just saying you're dressed nicely today, Ian. Thank you for dressing nicely for the podcast.
okay. I didn't do it for the podcast, but all right, whatever. I'm even shaved. I just shaved and everything.
Oh wow, you're. But
I'm less slobbish today.
You're less slobbish, I guess. That's one way. That's one way to put it, I guess.
Sure, why not?
Any question or comments, you can email us at contact@ligpodcast.us. We're on Twitter at ligpod, Podbean, and YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube. Spotify, just about everywhere else, as always.
Yep,
so what's been going on? I feel like it's been forever. I think I say this every week.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon we will be recording in person again.
Yeah, this might just maybe a couple more, and then I think we'll be back to normal. So
normal-ish.
Normal-ish. I'm kind of just waiting out.
Because trust me, Ian, there's nothing ever normal about the two of us.
No. If there were, we'd be way too boring, and I wouldn't be able to tolerate it. Yeah. But I was thinking about it. I'm just thinking, we're in Michigan, and Michigan's doing all right, but our cases are still climbing just a wee bit. So, I figured kind of wait it out a couple more weeks and see what happens.
Yeah, but so hopefully, maybe next 2 or 3 weeks we'll start recording in person again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anything else going on before we get into our topic?
No.
I guess that's
no.
A no. That's a no for Ian.
Big old no.
It's a solid no. So we're gonna be talking a little 2020 general election. It's something I feel like we're going to probably talk more about over the next couple of months for sure.
Which and any other given year would be fantastic because I'd be all for it. But Trump has ruined not just politics for me, but he's ruined the country for us all. He's definitely ruined the Republicans.
I wouldn't say he's ruined the country for all of us.
He's trying.
Well, I don't think he is. I mean, because there's 40% of the country that thinks that they're doing just fine under him.
Yeah, but I don't want to put them down, but let's face it, these people they're not the best of us.
Come on, Hillary.
They're not the best of us. I didn't call them anything. I just said they're not the best of us.
So Biden's now the official nominee for the Democratic Party, right?
Which he has been. I know it's not been official, but he's been the nominee for months now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's official now. So, I mean, now we're able to start looking forward to the general election in November. First off, I mean, I still have to mail mine, but I plan on mailing my ballot in. I know you said you're going to vote in person.
I would prefer to, but I don't know what to do because I prefer to vote in person. However, if I don't mail in my mail-in ballot, and then they don't allow us to vote in person because of the COVID going out of control, I don't want to lose my opportunity to vote. That'd be far worse to me than going against the grain and voting by mail. So I'm probably going to send mine in just to make sure that I'm eligible to vote no matter what. Yeah,
because that was kind of my concern was because I'm probably along the same lines as you. I would prefer to vote in person, like I always do. But the more I've been out and about in our area, in the state of Michigan, I have less and less faith in humanity, or at least the population in the state of Michigan, in helping to control this pandemic that's going on. And I feel that more and more likely there's gonna be some kind of another, maybe not a full shutdown, but at least a partial shutdown at some point in the fall.
So they're already pulling back a little bit on the shutdown, on the reopening now with bars and stuff.
Well, was it state of Florida just banned alcoholic sales, or sales of alcohol to try to slow down their rates down there? Because I think it was yesterday they had 3,000 or 6,000 new cases in the state of Florida.
How does banning alcohol sales do that? I mean, they can ban bars.
Because it's people in bars. Because it's bar crowds that are
right.
just.
But does that mean people can't go to a party store and pick up a case of beer?
No. I think I think it's sales in bars. I guess I misspoke.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sales of alcohol in bars and restaurants.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. You're less likely to get crowds than if and if people are sober, they're more likely to, be reasonable about.
Because even if you're someone that's, tries to do their part and tries to be responsible, after several tequila shots and 5 or 6 beers, you're probably less likely to social distance. You're less likely not to touch people or to talk in other people's faces. And when you're sitting there drinking, you obviously can't wear a mask. So I don't know. There's a lot to play into it. Obviously, there's not just. I don't blame the increases just on bars and restaurants. I mean, it's across the board. I've been into stores in at least in my area where none of the employees wear masks or anything. We have a coworker of ours who her son works at a McDonald's. I'm not sure what area he works in, but apparently his employer told them they no longer have to wear masks, which when you're serving food, I would assume that it would probably be a priority that you not, because like you said before, it's not for the protection of the person wearing the mask. It's for the protection of everyone else. Right. So if you're not wearing a mask and you're serving people food, if you are positive, you're much more likely to pass it on to somebody else.
Right. Because even if they're wearing a mask, they're not going to wear a mask when they get home.
Or they're not going to wear. They're not going to clean their food before they eat it.
Right. Well, I do. I spray bleach on all my food before I eat it.
Well, Trump did say you need to get the bleach and the sunlight in your body. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not big on sunlight. I'll take the bleach, but not the sunlight.
I have rays of sunshine shooting out your ass, Ian?
No, not that shooting out my ass. Maybe other things.
I don't want anything shooting out of my ass.
Better
whatever
out than
it
in.
is.
Better out than in, Nick. Just remember that.
That's very true
for some of us.
Yeah, very true, prison Ian. But on a different topic than things shooting out of your ass. So there was a new NPR CBS poll out the last couple of days. I'm not sure. Have you seen it yet? Or
I think I saw. I didn't see the numbers, but basically the projected, or not projected, but if it's the same poll, Biden is ahead of Trump in almost every poll nationwide.
Well, the thing that the CBS poll, the thing I thought kind of interesting about it is it's actually a slimmer margin than some of the other. I mean, I've seen some polls that say Biden's up by 12 to 15 points nationally, and this poll, I think it was 8%. They had Biden up by 8 points, but it actually broke down even
every
further.
State.
Well, different categories. Like it, it's the interesting thing is this poll has Trump's approval rating at an all-time low of 40%, which it's not far off from where it has been. I think it's been between 40 and 45% for the past 4 years, really, or 3.5 years.
Right.
But
I saw it down to 37% last week, but I don't know where that poll was taken.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one, but this one had his disapproval rating at, I mean, it was 49%.
Yeah.
Strong, and it was 49% of that 58%. So 58% disapproval, 49% strongly disapprove, which is a huge number, especially when you're 4 months away from an election.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good to go into an election with those kind of numbers for sure.
No.
I'd be curious to see, because the last president to only get one term was Bush Sr. I wonder what his approval rating was going into 92.
Well, according to this poll, it said that his disapproval rating and his strongly disapproval rating these levels have never been seen, at least by this president or any president before him. So these are
Really?
the highest disapproval ratings of any president.
Wow. If that translates into votes, then I think we might be all right.
But here's the thing, though. What I say before, we're 4 months away, roughly.
Yeah.
5 months away, 4.5 months. 4 months is a long time,
especially in politics.
In politics.
Yeah.
And and I know people love to beat on the 2016 polling because looking back on it, people say, well, look what polling meant. Look what all the polls said in 2016 and look what the result ended up being. But if you actually go back and look at the polling, the numbers at this point, this far out from the election, we're definitely had Hillary in the lead and everything else. But as you got closer and closer to the election, those numbers really tightened up in the last 2 weeks leading in. So I kind of expect the numbers to do something similar this time also.
Huh.
Right?
It's hard to say because we're dealing with, I guess it depends on what these people consider to be why they're giving a strong disapproval. Because if it's based on his response to COVID, that can only get worse for him because it's only going to get worse for all of us as things are going right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So if it's based on that, on his performance as far as the response to COVID, then I don't see his numbers getting any better anytime soon.
No.
Which again is good. I'm not going to complain about that. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of people are going to get sick and a lot of people are going to die as a result of that.
It's interesting though. Like I said, this poll really kind of broke down the numbers. I overall I already said it was 58% disapproval, 40% approving, but so the rest of the numbers that they had listed at least were when they asked Democrats, it was 96% disapproved, 3% approved, which makes sense.
Right.
But it was actually, I'm surprised at the Republican numbers because the Republican, he had 90% approval and 9% disapproval, which the 9% I was kind of surprised about. Because I really didn't think that number, I thought that number would be a lot lower than that.
Lower than 9%?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought it would be less than 9% disapproval from his own party.
Right. I guess I'm kind of shocked it's that high, but I have noticed a kind of a trend of Republicans not jumping ship, but starting to be a little less ass kissing with him, especially when it comes to COVID. I think COVID is going to be his downfall. If there is one, it's going to be that.
Yeah, because especially, and like I said, even if there's something, especially if there's something bigger in the fall, if there's maybe not as big as what it has been, which, 2 or 3 days ago, we had the largest single day increase in COVID cases since the pandemic started.
Since April,
since it even started.
Yeah. So, and that's in the summertime. That's when we're not even dealing with flu or, when typically viruses aren't thriving as they normally do.
Yeah.
So if we're getting those kind of surges now, come September, October, November,
what's it going to be then?
I can't foresee any scenario where this is good. Yeah. I'm not psychic. I'm not a doctor. But it's not looking very promising to me.
Yeah. One of the other interesting numbers I saw from this poll is, the conversation really always in a general election is it's not really the Democrats or Republicans that decide the election. It's the independent voters. And the independents in this poll, 59% disapproved of Trump and only 37% approved of him. So that's a damning number right there. Now, granted, like I said, a lot of things can change in 4 months, but the white vote, which he won overwhelmingly in 2016, is really split. He's got 51% disapproval, 48% approval rating.
Well, and I think according to MSNBC the other day, a lot of that white vote he's losing is because of his response to the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Which I can see that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
But he is losing white voters over that.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's not surprising that Trump's greatest support comes from who? It comes from evangelical Christians
and white supremacists.
Well, I wouldn't say white supremacists. I would say white men without college degrees and people in rural America. But really, outside of the evangelical Christians, which, you know, the Democrats, Biden is never going to win. He's making inroads into the other two groups.
Right.
You know, and those three categories really helped push Trump in the election in 2016. So if Biden's able to take some of those numbers, you know, Trump is still going to win those groups, but it really depends on how big of a gap he has.
Right. If the MSNBC, because they broke it down by state, how much of a lead Biden has in each state.
Yeah.
And the average, I think it works out about the same as what you were talking about. There's some states where he was like 12, 13% above. Other states where he was only like 4 or 5% above.
Mm-hmm.
So the average probably works out around 8, 9%.
Yeah.
But if they were saying that if the election were held that day, which was Wednesday,
okay,
Biden would be looking at probably an electoral victory of 333.
Yeah.
So,
but that's now and not
4 months from now.
Not the first Tuesday in November. You know.
Right. Well, that's projected based on registered voters actually going out and voting too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's not always the case.
No. It's kind of interesting though if you look at 2016 numbers and 2018 numbers, because obviously we're kind of speculating on a lot of this stuff, but if you look at 2018 numbers, there's kind of an interesting trend, and that's in the 2016 election, Trump beat Hillary in the suburbs 49 to 45%, so he won by 4 percentage points in the suburbs. That number shifted in the complete opposite direction in the 2018 midterms, which is why the Democrats won the House back. And Biden, according to this NPR poll, Biden is up 60 to 35% in the suburbs, which is a huge number at this point.
Right. But he's really going to have to win in almost at least a small percentage in almost every demographic, other than evangelical Christians.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he's not going to get those.
No.
I don't think Biden would get much of the white supremacist vote.
No, and he's not courting that vote either, obviously.
Well, no. But it's an existing demographic, unfortunately.
It's a very small demographic.
It is.
The thing that Trump really not Trump, but the thing that Biden really needs to focus on, I think, is the minority vote, and in particular the Latino vote, because that's where he's really struggling.
Right.
Because in 2016, Hillary had 66% of support from Latinos, and that number now for Biden, at least in this poll from NPR, is down to 59%.
Right, which is still decent, but it's not where she was. And I find it fascinating that number's so low, considering Trump's his behavior towards immigration.
Because here's the thing,
from Mexico,
especially with Cuban Americans are very traditionally Republican, very conservative. There's a lot of, obviously the Latinos that are voting went through a legal process to become U.S. citizens to vote, and a lot of the immigrants in this country, at least the ones I've dealt with, because I worked in immigration, so I dealt a little bit more with immigration or immigrants than probably a lot of other people do or knowingly do. And I even had some people that went through our office that made comments about, people coming through and doing it the right way and things like that. So there's a strong anti-immigrant sentiment in immigrants in the United, or Hispanics or Latinos in the U.S. anyway.
Well, it's not even just his behavior towards blocking them from coming in illegally. It was the way that they're treated here. The ability for police to just stop them because they look Mexican or Hispanic.
I think a lot of that.
If you're a citizen and you're pulled over,
here's the thing though. you have to remember though, that's not something that's happened since 2016. You know, I worked in immigration when Obama was president, and we had, even then, was a term, it was driving while brown, even when he was in office. So this isn't something new since Trump has become president.
Well, no, but neither is the indiscriminate killing of black men by police. But
no,
it's an issue now. It's becoming an issue.
It's becoming an issue because more and more people have this right here and are able to videotape what's going on out there.
Yeah, but
it becomes an issue because it's in it's on the mind of whites in the United States.
Right.
You know, because the black community has been talking about this for decades and decades and decades.
Right.
And it's now starting to gain steam because it's more across the board. More and more people are becoming outraged at what's going on because, like I said, there's people videotaping this stuff. You know,
yeah, but that goes back to 1993.
I know
with
that
Rodney King,
with Rodney King, but you look at it this way, you know, if as a white male, which we are basically what runs this country, white males do, and for a white male to look at the news and see a cop on the news saying, oh well, yeah, you know, I tried to pull this guy over, he got out, took off running, or tried to, or not necessarily running, but let's say the cop says, oh, he got out of his car and attacked me and I shot him and killed him. We accept that story. Whereas minorities in this country look at that story and go, well, is that really what happened? And now there's video.
I don't. I've been asking that question for years now.
So have I. But a majority of the white males in this country, or white people in this country, have always looked at that and sided with the police. And now that there's video evidence showing, well, he wasn't attacking you, he was actually running away. You know, what really happened in this situation?
He was handcuffed and on his belly. How could he attack you?
Exactly.
Right.
You know, because the old adage was, oh, he reached for my gun. That's the standard story for everything. It gives you justification to do whatever you want. Oh, he reached for my gun. Well, now there's video evidence that he didn't reach for your gun. And like you said, he was handcuffed and his face was in the ground. Okay, what's your justification then? You know, that's why I said because video evidence exists and is more prevalent, we're now seeing more support for the, you know, for police, for reforming the police department or doing something,
right,
you know, to try to curb this issue.
Yeah. Still, I don't know. I just feel like, well, I guess I can't really speculate, but if I were Latino, I don't know how I could support Donald Trump. I
mean, I for the most part, Ian, I don't know how anyone really supports him, but you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you're shocked by our comments, you obviously haven't been listening for 120 some episodes.
No, because this show kind of started on the back of Donald Trump's inauguration.
Yeah, it wasn't really meant to, but it had to be that's around that same time we started.
Yeah, it was just right when it started.
Yeah,
but I just hope that this podcast outlasts Donald Trump.
It will. Damn it. But kind of the interesting thing I thought, looking at the poll numbers, is the fact that so when Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, it was, well, how is Biden going to do with the younger voters? And at least according to this poll, he's actually doing pretty damn well with them. I mean, it's in the 18 to 29 demographic, Biden has a 63 to 37% lead, where Hillary only had 55% in the 2016 election. Now, granted, it's 63% now. What's it going to be come November?
Right.
You know, it's easy to look at a number 4.5 months out.
Right.
But that 18 to 29 demographic, that's a big number for Democrats, especially if they can get that age group out to vote in droves.
That's the key.
Which they did in the 2018 midterms.
Right. Well, you can only hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see. But if you look at the kind of the gap between the older Americans and the younger Americans, if you look at least, like I said, according to this poll, voters younger than 45, Biden had 59%, where Trump only had 36%. Over 45, Biden has 46%, Trump has 50%. So Trump has a lead, but that's what I was talking about, making those inroads. Biden obviously has inroads in that over 45 group that I don't think Hillary necessarily really had.
No, and I don't think she tried hard enough to get him.
No, I don't. I think they looked at the election and they were like, well, we won. Right. Even in August of that year, oh yeah, we've got this tied up. Look at who the candidate is for the Republicans.
Right.
Which I heard leading into the election before the Republican nomination process was even finished. I heard people saying, "Oh, I'd love to have Donald Trump as a Republican nominee because it'd be an easy win."
Right.
And we saw how that played out.
Yeah, we're all seeing how that played out.
I don't know. It's these poll numbers, like I have said multiple times, even several months out from the election, they look really good for Joe Biden. But Joe Biden needs to keep the pressure on. He's got at least 3 debates. I think is what they want to do. I know Trump wants to do. I think he said 5. Right? Is that what and
I don't know.
Oh,
I'd say do whatever Trump wants to do.
Trump wants to do 5. The Biden camp only wants to do 3. They're worried about COVID and the reemergence and over this fall.
You do it in a you do it with no audience.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the University of Michigan already said that they're not going to have one of the debates here.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that announcement either.
No.
Good job, Ian. But
I'm an American. I get my news from Facebook. If it's not there, I don't know it.
But so they want to do 3 of them. So he's got to do good in those debates. There's still a lot of time from now until November for Trump to close that gap, to take a lead and end up winning the election.
Yeah. I wouldn't say Biden's going to do great in those debates. Is that what you just said? You said he's going to do good in those debates.
I said he's got to do good.
Oh, he's got to do good. Yeah.
Yeah. Biden has to do good. Biden can't have, severe lapse in judgment in those debates for sure. Because if he does, the right is going to just jump all over it.
Right. I don't want him to be too cautious either, because I think sometimes I'm
not saying cautious.
Sometimes when he's off, when he goes off, he's at his best. When he's angry and he was angry the other day when he did that. He did a press conference or something, and or it may have even been a rally. When he was angry and he was good. I mean, it was like, wow, that's powerful stuff. When he's just talking and just going through the motions, it's kind of comes off as weak.
Let me put it to you like this, okay? I haven't seen these ads until yesterday was the first time I saw one, but just recently, Joe Biden was, I don't know if he was doing an interview. I think it had been during an interview because it's basically all he's done so far in the last couple of months. But in the interview, Joe Biden made the mistake of saying that over 120 million people have died from COVID instead of saying 120,000. And the Trump campaign jumped on it. And I saw two ads yesterday talking about that and putting had the audio on there of Joe Biden saying 120 million people have died. And it was all,
they're doubling down.
Do you want this kind of person running your country? And if I made that mistake, the media would just be all over me, is what the ad was saying. It's those kind of mistakes that Biden has to really try to limit, especially in those debates.
Yeah, they're really going after the feeble-minded angle.
Yes, absolutely.
With their ads, for sure.
Absolutely.
So and that's why you're voting for Biden, but you're also voting for whoever he picks as a VP.
Which it's starting to look more and more like it's almost a lock for Kamala Harris to be his VP. I mean, the money's way in her favor right now.
Yeah.
Which, like I said
I
before,
don't know.
I'm
I
not
like
really
that other
sure
one, but I can't
which
remember her
one
name now. Can't remember her name now, but
from Florida. Val
what's her name?
Dennings.
Yes, Val Dennings.
Yeah.
I was kind of leaning towards her, but
the reason why I say it's pretty much a lock to be Kamala Harris is look how she's acted the last week. You know, she was front and center. She was the main voice in opposition of the Republicans' a new crime bill that they tried to pass, or crime reform, police reform, which was a complete bullshit plan.
Right. Well, the one the Democrats put forward is only a beginning anyway.
Yeah.
But because it focuses strictly on police brutality. But at least it's more. It was the Republican one had no teeth whatsoever.
It had no teeth at all. And Kamala Harris was the mouthpiece against that bill. So that's kind of what's like. She's putting herself out there. The Democrats are kind of pushing her out there. I mean, I would be shocked if she's not his running mate. But like I said before, I don't really. It's not who I would pick. You know, if especially the way that Democrats like to check boxes. I mean, obviously she's a female, she's a minority, but that geographically, that just it doesn't. I think it hurts you because it hurts for her to be seen as a West Coast Democrat, Joe Biden seen as an East Coast Democrat, and I think those are going to be hard sells in Middle America.
Right.
You know,
I agree. I know
that once again, it's the West Coast and East Coast that's trying to tell and run the country.
Yeah. Well, they run the hip hop labels, right?
That was in the 1990s, and that was a long time ago.
Oh.
There's no more East Coast, West Coast thing. I mean,
Tupac
and Biggie are both dead, man. Sorry.
Were they the leaders, and it just ended when they died?
That was kind of like the heyday of it, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
You're lost, man.
No, I never understood that. I just thought it was funny because East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, I got you. So kind of the way I was thinking about probably a week or two back was if Biden wins the election in November, does he have the potential to be what we really thought Barack Obama was going to be, which was going to be this big, bold, progressive president?
Well, yes, I think, but only in the sense that, well, no, really, the more I think about it, I think he's got so much work to do because he's got to fix so much.
Yeah.
I know Barack Obama did too. And when he came into office in 2009, he had a lot to fix, but I think Biden's going to be taking a slightly more daunting task because if he wins, he's going to be coming in still with COVID running. He's going to be coming in with unemployment at super high numbers still.
Yeah.
Even higher than they were in 2009 when Barack came in.
Mm-hmm.
I actually see him having a much more daunting task ahead of him than Barack had. So
and that may be the case.
I don't think he can really progress the situation beyond more just fixing it.
See, and that's where I'm not really sure because I've seen a push. I think this pandemic has pushed maybe not the overwhelming majority of the country, but a large section of this country to the left. You know, and
well,
I think
at least more to the center.
Well, that's more to the left. I mean, if you're if you're talking about, you know, center leaning Republicans, moving them to the center is moving them to the left. Right. But even more so than that, I think if you look at Andrew Yang, you know, Andrew Yang 6 months ago was running for president on the basis of, you know, a guaranteed income. Right. And it was seen as a laughing stock within the Democratic Party. And now you're seeing Republicans, you know, put out, you know, granted they don't call it that. They call it a paycheck guarantee program, you know, but it's still the same basic guaranteed income. So when you see Republicans out there campaigning and pushing for something in that nature, now granted it's not being pushed by the Mitch McConnells of the Republican Party,
No.
But it's still, if there's a voice inside the Republican Party pushing for a guaranteed paycheck to Americans, that's definitely a move to the left. And that's from the Republican Party.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I don't know. To me, and this is probably just my own personal perspective on it, but yes, you're right. It's still moving towards the left, but I still think this country's still very far right of center as a whole.
I think you're always going to have that.
Not demographically. I think overall the population is much more center. But I think the politics, the way things are run, and where the power of politics really is definitely right of center.
I think people's paychecks go a long way in determining how they look at politicians and how they look at policies. And come November, or even let's say past November, let's say Biden wins the election and now we're middle of 2021, right? Because it's really going to be that first year. Anything of substance that's going to get passed is going to get passed in that first year. Because the second year, you're starting to look at the midterm elections and nothing's going to happen at that point.
Right.
So it's really in that first year. So a year from now, if there's still record high unemployment, if the housing market is crumbling because people can't make their mortgage payments, if they're losing their houses, if there aren't jobs out there, they're going to start looking at, let's say, like I said before, a guaranteed paycheck program. And even if you're, the hardcore Republican, they can look at that program and see how it benefits them, how it benefits their family, how it benefits, their legacy within their family, losing their house and things like that. And I think that you would be able to sway those kind of voters to get some kind of public support behind a program.
Well, you're right. I look at these the last two stimulus packages that the Democrats put forward that weren't even like looked at in the Senate. Like Mr. Connell says, we're not even going to do it.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying.
And it's essentially the same thing. We're talking about right now helping people out, not only just people but the economy, because that money comes to us, we put it right back into the economy, and they're not getting it. The Republicans just aren't getting it. But it doesn't seem to be. There's not a big outcry over that. People are more They're bitching about having to wear a mask, but they're not bitching about the government not giving us our own fucking money. Because
here's the thing, though, and actually, I think you're kind of making my point, and that's because right now, if you're on unemployment, you're getting that extra $600 a week.
Right. Well, that's not going to be the case much longer.
That runs out July 31st.
Right.
Unless there's some kind of package put together that extends it out, come July 31st, you're done. That extra 600 is gone, and you drop down. What's the maximum for unemployment? Is what, $265 a week, or something along those lines?
I thought it was 80% of your pay.
Up to two. I thought it was like up to 265 or something like that. I don't know. It's been years and years and years since I've been on unemployment, but I know that there's some kind of a cap there, and it's.
I've never been on it, so I don't know.
Yeah. So if you're going from, $800 plus a week to $300 a week, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's not a public push for some kind of another stimulus package, because right now everyone's doing good. It's not affecting people right now for the most part. In 2 months from now, come September, when all that extra money you've accumulated in the last couple of months, if you have accumulated any of it, is gone, and you're no longer able to make your car payment, you're no longer able to make your house payment, you can't put food on your family's table, it becomes a different situation. It becomes it becomes more of an outcry from every corner of the country to do something to help people out. Because that's what Roosevelt did to pass the New Deal, because there was that outcry.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was bad.
Granted, neither one of us were alive, so.
No, I was born a couple years after that.
I was born several hundred years before that, but
several hundred years before.
Yeah. I'm a zombie.
Don't even say that word. When a couple of our coworkers were talking about the song "Zombie" by Cranberries, and I had that song in my head for like the whole rest of the night. So now whenever I hear that, even the word "zombie," it just starts playing in my head.
Well, yeah, it's not a terrible song in your head.
No, but after about 15 hours of it, you're like, I'm done with this. And it came from the unlikeliest of places, two of the youngest employees we've got.
That's funny.
The ones that weren't even alive when that song was released.
That's funny. But, going back to Biden, though, I mean, if you look at, so when Barack Obama took office, there was, there was this hope, this hope and change is basically what it was. It was what their slogan was, right?
Right.
And a lot of people thought things were going to go a certain way. And Obama, he was more of a centrist Democrat than people thought he would be. And it was, so that's why you got to keep in mind that it was really Joe Biden that really helped push President Obama to the left on a number of topics, mainly gay marriage. Barack Obama was against gay marriage,
so was Biden, though, for a little while.
But see, that's the thing that, so people really get on Joe Biden for, a couple of very noticeable things that he's done in his past. The way he attacked Anita Hill during the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings,
right.
Which he's come out and apologized for since then. But, they go after him for the 1992 crime bill, which ravaged and devastated minority neighborhoods across this country. And they go after and they attack him for his support of the Iraq War in 2002. But the thing you have to remember, in all three of those instances, he was in the majority, not only the majority of his party, he was also with the majority of the country at that time. And I think over the last 30 years, you look at his legislative history and you can see someone that's able and willing to not only evolve, but change and move forward. Move forward and look for ways to move forward within the country. And I think that's really something that we really need at this time, is somebody who is able to put more liberal policies out there,
right?
But also in a way that's able to kind of, create a cohesiveness, not only in Washington, but hopefully across the country.
Right. Well, at least if a politician has to bend their will, at least they're bending their will to the people.
Yeah.
Which is what they're supposed to do in the first place, rather than bending their will to corporate interests and lobbyists and shit like that, which tends to be the more common.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Common way. So, whereas you're right, Biden understands how the public flows.
Yeah.
And is more willing to adjust to public demand and public concern than most other politicians out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you look at his legislative history, it actually shows that he does change and he does evolve. And really, it's something that we all do. I can say there's lots of different topics politically that I look at that even me now, as someone who's almost 41, I didn't necessarily feel the same way 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Right.
And I think a majority of America is there also, that all of us evolve and change our views one way or another for good or bad. And I think that's, it's people go, like I said, they attack him for his legislative history, but I think I see it as a positive.
Right. Well, the fact that, like you said, he's willing to adapt.
Yeah.
To the flow of things. Yeah. No, I totally agree, because it's not about. It's one thing to make mistakes. It's one thing to do things wrong. What makes that okay is the fact that you learn from those mistakes, and anyone willing to do that, especially in a time we've got a president who won't even admit to making mistakes ever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It makes a huge difference in terms of not only our confidence in what we have going forward, but it makes a difference in how policy will be theoretically across the board once he's there.
Yep. I don't know. It's I think the next couple of months are going to be really interesting. And even though Biden has really kind of positioned himself as a centrist within the Democratic Party, not necessarily a centrist, but in the center of the party.
Okay.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Because he's not really like, I'm not saying he's a centrist, more so in the political landscape. I mean, he's in the center of the party. He agrees with a lot of liberal policies. He also agrees with some more conservative Democratic policies.
Right.
But I think that he's able to, especially over the last 10, 15 years, I think he's shown that he's able, or at least he's willing to kind of push policies to the left, to the far left sometimes, when he's able to do so.
Right. Based on public
exactly. Based on sometimes even against public support. When he came out in favor of gay marriage, public support was not there.
Well, it was on the liberal side for the most part.
It was on the liberal, yes. You're right. It was on the liberal side. But you look at the number of Americans now in 2020, they're in favor or at least indifferent to gay marriage. And you look at those numbers from a decade ago, they're vastly different.
Right.
So at least on that topic, that's one topic that Joe Biden was far out in front of the curve on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see, because you're right. Now that you mention it, he did kind of come out in favor of it before Barack did, I think.
He did. And actually, Barack Obama was the one that said that it was partially Joe Biden that helped him move to that where he was on that. It was also Joe Biden during the Obama White House that pushed for more lenient sentencing on nonviolent criminals.
Right.
That's another spot where Joe Biden was out in front of the curve. He was on that more far left spectrum on another topic.
Huh. Yeah.
You
don't have to sell him to me. I'm going to vote for him no matter what.
I know that. But I think Joe Biden takes a lot of heat, especially from the far progressive left, for not being progressive enough. But I think if you look at some of the things that have leaked out of what's going to be in their platform, it was Joe Biden that has, according to reports, demanded that a tax for the rich be included in the Democratic platform of the fall. It's Joe Biden has stated on record that in their platform is going to be an increase to medical subsidies and an increase to Medicaid as a way to achieve a universal health care. That's going to be in their platform. There's going to be $1.7 trillion in clean energy investment, zero emissions by 2050, which is, I think, should be sooner than that, but that's going to be part of their platform. There's going to be $2 trillion for early education, for post-secondary education, for housing that's going to be in their platform. There's $1.3 trillion for infrastructure that's going to be in the platform. There's going to be a $15 minimum wage that's going to be in their platform. These are all very progressive policies, very progressive ideas that have been pushed by someone like Bernie Sanders for the last 20 years that Joe Biden is now adopting and moving. That's why I said you're seeing someone who is a not widely popular, but he is a popular person in American politics across the country. Even in, he's popular in suburban areas, he's popular in rural areas. And
he was vice president for 8 years.
Was vice president. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I said, I think he has, and I'm not saying he's going to be able to pass maybe any of that.
Right.
But it's all policies that he's putting out in there. He's putting out in their platform, and I don't know. It's be interesting to see where he goes forward with all that.
Yeah. And to be fair, the far left progressives, they're never going to be sold on to Joe Biden anyway.
Yes and no. I don't know if he's
maybe some of the less extreme of them, sure, but I would say there's several. I can't give you exact numbers, but I know there's a percentage of that far left that is they're going to sit this out, or they're going to vote third party.
Yeah,
because they won't vote for any Democrat that isn't Bernie Sanders.
See, but that's what I'm saying though, is I think the success of Bernie Sanders in 2016 and helping do what he helped with in 2018, pushing a lot of those Democratic candidates. His success over the last 4 plus years, I think has really not only maybe opened up Joe Biden's eyes, but really helped push him to what could be possible.
Right.
So we'll see.
We'll definitely have to see what happens. It's going to, like you said, it's going to be an interesting few months coming forward. Yeah. I'm excited and scared at the same time.
I think we all should be, obviously, because you never know. A lot of people thought Jimmy Carter had it locked up at 80, and you see how it worked out for him.
Right. But to be fair, he was kind of robbed. That was kind of stolen from him. The Republicans cheated. They cheated essentially to get that position.
There's no essentially about it. I mean, I don't want to get too off into that conspiracy, but
it's not really a conspiracy. It's pretty much public.
Oh, you're right.
knowledge.
Oh, you're right. Because the incoming president in Iran it was during the last year or two of Barack Obama's presidency, came out and said, yes, it was that I'm not sure if it was Reagan or someone within high-end Reagan's campaign went to the Ayatollah and said, look, you hold on to those hostages until after the inauguration, and we'll help you militarily. And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
Hours after Reagan's inaugurated, on that day, the hostages are released.
Right. Not only that, but the whole Contra trial and everything else.
Which that was years later. That was
it was years later, but it was still under Reagan's administration. And they threw Oliver North under the bus, but it's all right there.
Yeah.
All that stuff happened as a result of that promise that was made in 1980.
I mean, the Iran Contra was a kind of different section or different part of it. That was helping Contras in South America, but it was all about weapons sales.
It was. As a result of promises made.
Yes, absolutely.
By the Reagan administration.
Yes.
So,
but I don't know, man, it's going to be a fun couple of months, I want to say. Obviously, I don't think this will be our last time talking, 2020 politics. I'm sure it'll probably be a recurring theme over the next couple of months.
Yeah, probably at least once a month until the election.
But I think it's going to be interesting because I know Biden has said that he's going to announce his running mate prior to August 1st. So we'll see. And then once the official campaign platform gets rolled out, it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how many of those policies that have leaked out that they say is going to be on there is actually going to be on that platform.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I'm optimistic, but cautiously optimistic.
Oh yeah, as you should be, I think.
Right. So we'll see.
Like we always say, go out and vote.
Absolutely. Elections have consequences, people.
That they do. They absolutely do. But anything else you want to add, man?
No. You said everything that I would have wanted to say.
I say everything that everyone wants to say. How about that? Everyone should say exactly what I say, right? No?
No.
Whatever. That's what I said. No. I can fix all the world's problems. You just have to make me king.
Yeah, and then we'll have to fix the problems that you cause because it's you.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@ligpodcast.us. Check us out on Twitter @ligpod. We're on Facebook, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, right, Ian? And subscribe down below.
Yep.
All right. Well, until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, the niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell him get well soon. Now you sick as fuck. Get well soon.